unstoppable kick-ass confidence. Are you ready?
Welcome to the Raw and Unscripted show with Kristoffer Rausch, where we help you overcome your self-created crap without the self-help fluffy bullshit. Now please welcome our host, Kristoffer Rausch.
And please welcome our host, Kristoffer Rausch. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Welcome to the Raw and Unscripted show with yours truly, Kristoffer Rausch, the place where I help you overcome your self-created crap without the self-help fluffy bullshit. We are back here with another episode of this fine broadcast. You may be watching this on the video cast, but we are also available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, anywhere you get podcasts. Please go there and check out Raw and Unscripted with Kristoffer Rausch. Sign up for the audio podcast. Take us with you. And more importantly, if you dig what I'm spraying in this particular show, share the shit out. We appreciate you. This is what it's all about. I'm out here to make this world a better place and bring my intelligence, bring my expertise, bring my humor to you guys every single week to expand our knowledge and our confidence, to make this world a better place, to expand our self-worth, and just have a kick-ass time doing it. And we've already got Angel in the house. It still shows Facebook user. She says, "What's up, brother? I appreciate you." She says, "Great to see you." I'm guessing it's Angel. Let me know if it's Angel, not unless we have another Facebook user out there. But thank you guys for being here. And I know a lot of you guys watch this on replay because sometimes it's a little bit later there on the East Coast. So we appreciate and love you guys if you're watching this on the replay. As always, if you guys are here live, feel free to ask questions and shit. Even if you're on the replay, ask us questions. I'm sure myself or my guest, who's going to be introduced here in just a second, will be happy to answer those questions for you. This is a conversation between us and you. We're sitting at a bar. We're sitting in a coffee shop. We're conversating, and you guys can every once in a while pop in here. We got Jose Marrera in the house. Oh, it's Jose Marrera in the house. My brother from another mother from Puerto Rico. What's going on, brother? Thank you for being here. We still got to catch up. Still got to catch you up. He says, finally get to see you live, but because I am homesick. Because you're homesick. We got another Facebook user too. We got another, I think this is Angel. So we got Angel. It's crazy how it comes up Facebook user. I don't understand that, but hey, it is what it is. We appreciate you guys being here. I'm sorry you're homesick. But we're going to be talking about stuff right up your alley. We're going to be talking about wealth management here in just a few moments. But first and foremost, I just want to do a little commercial. I'm going to do 2 commercials here. You know, I don't do commercials. I don't do paid sponsorships, but I belong to an amazing organization called Help Heal Humanity. Actually, my guest and I have had conversations about Help Heal Humanity. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that. Help Heal Humanity is an amazing organization. If you're listening to the podcast, helphealhumanity.org, founded and led by the amazing Serena Buffalino. And we are on track to continue to change the world and, of course, help heal humanity. So if you're looking for an organization to be philanthropic with, to share some of your generational wealth, perhaps. Oh, there's a key little word we're going to be talking about. We would love for you to go visit the website, www.helphealhumanity.org, and consider doing what you can. That's a little price you can pay for this episode. You know, I'm giving you valuable content every single week. We've been going for now 2.5 years. I think we're on episode 178 or something like that, 180. So can't do the math. I know there's 52 weeks in a year. So yeah, we're rocking and rolling, and we appreciate you guys. So go check out helphealhumanity.org if you want to get involved with the organization. If you're looking for a place to volunteer, whether it's being on the board of directors, we got some openings there. We would love to have you. So hit me up. Private message me. You guys know where to find me. You can email me at Kristoffer@KristofferRausch.com as always. But be sure to go check out helphealhumanity.org. Right now, we are raising $100,000 to send kids in Haiti to school. And it's an amazing program, and not only send them to school, but actually feed them. Because if you know anything about Haiti, it's crazy there. It's absolutely crazy. We know that the president got assassinated, I believe, 2 years ago. They've had earthquake after earthquake, and literally these guys look at having a tarp as having, a home, and it's really crazy, literally crazy. But what we're doing is we built a school in one of the hardest, toughest areas, and the whole place is ran by gangs right now. But we're still sending these kids to school, these innocent kids who don't deserve to be in the middle of crossfire. We're sending them to school and we're feeding them. So we're raising $100,000 to continue doing that, to send our students to school. My wife and I sponsor a child, and we also donate. And of course, I'm on the board of directors. So it's an incredible organization. Nobody takes a paycheck. All the money goes towards those efforts. And that's something that you don't hear about from these nonprofit organizations. So whatever you can do to help, if it's $1, if it's $5, $25, if you donate something, please let me know, because that way I can pay it forward to you and perhaps give you some of my coaching time is my way of saying thank you. So it's all about us helping each other and making this world a better place and helping to heal humanity. So most definitely appreciate that. And then also, I just want to take a moment here. because I've got something to share with you in case you have been living under a rock. I'm going to show this right here. I have an amazing opportunity for you guys. This is my No Excuses Confidence Workshop. And truth be told, I don't normally do workshops. I normally don't even do group coaching programs. To work with me, it's all one-on-one. But lately, my coach has been getting up my butt and saying, hey, listen, you got to give different opportunities for people to work with you at different price ranges. So I decided to put this together a couple of weeks ago. It's called the No Excuses Confidence Workshop. It is $97. And what you're going to be getting for 90 minutes, I mean, you guys can read this, but who is this for? This is for people who are sick and tired of being sick and tired and feeling taken advantage of because they don't have any boundaries, who feel stuck and overwhelmed with feeling like they have little control over their lives, who are busy with all the time yet procrastinate because they have fear of failing, making mistakes and being judged, people who have the best intentions yet time after time give themselves lame excuses, which helps keep them comfortably miserable, who desire to create and leave a permanent legacy for which they and their loved ones will be honored to carry forward, who take care of everyone and everything else and thereby feel depleted and don't take care of themselves and being frustrated. What you will gain, ladies and gentlemen, you will permanently shift your perspectives and your beliefs about your past failures and mistakes. Just imagine how confident you would be if you no longer feared making mistakes and having quote unquote failures. You will learn how to shift your mindset about your worth, both in monetary and relationship value. Just imagine how different your life and your career and your business would be with more additional confidence. Gain clarity and develop your bigger vision and your mission in your life. Discover how to work and eliminate what you are tolerating that is holding you back. Work specifically with your largest excuses and develop action plans for shifting those patterns. Increase personal freedom and inner peace, knowing you are no longer going to be the same person as who started this program. It's 90 minutes. Make better decisions that serve your greater good, less regrets later on in life, more confidence to ask for what you want and deserve in your personal and professional life. 90 minutes. You guys can go read this all. It's an amazing workshop. I'm offering it dirt cheap just to make sure you have skin in the game. So go check it out. NoExcusesCoach.com. It's right there on the landing page. I would love you and appreciate it for it. I want the right people in this thing. And we can definitely entertain that. You also get a 20-minute phone call with me. Now, my coaching is not cheap. Let's just put it that way. But you get a 20-minute call with me after the workshop's over just to make sure that you get set off in the right direction and what it is that you want to accomplish. I'm throwing the kitchen sink in with this. So I expect to have this completely full. We've got people that are on the docket to take advantage of this. And then also, if you want to check it out, my group coaching program is right there. There's additional information. So we got all sorts of testimonials down here. You can see them all. You can see my blog. So that is my little commercial right now for me, because I bring you the value and I am very intentional on helping you build your confidence, make a name for yourself, and get out there and help other people grow. And as a result, help heal humanity. So thank you guys for entertaining me on this. What we got going on here? We got all the Facebook users. What's up? It's crazy. Why is it all Facebook users? That's crazy. I don't know. Okay, we're gonna get to that. So anyways, ladies and gentlemen, so tonight my guest, I met him at again, donating my time, the Power We Symposium 2022 in Chicago. You guys heard me talk about it. I just recently posted some video clips of me hosting the at-home version of that and doing some speaking on stage and doing some interviews. I posted that recently because I just get a kick out of it. But we met there because we both have a kind heart for what it is that we can do philanthropically in the world and make the world a better place. He is the author of an upcoming book that we're going to be talking about as well. So please welcome to the Raw and Unscripted show, Mr. Kristoffer Doura. What's going on, Chris? Welcome to the Raw and Unscripted show, brother.
The power of we. I think that was such a special moment in my life to experience the power of we in Chicago at the Stan Mansion. You and I connected. It was like we were, friends from a different world, but we're just reunited.
Yeah.
So, thanks for having me on your show today, Chris. And I think, I'm so thrilled to just share some, information, nuggets, just, share with people content that's going to be valuable.
Hell yeah, we're going to do that. We're going to do that. So I want to jump kind of right off in the deep end and talking about, we're going to be talking about financial wealth and abundance. But one of the questions that I've been asking people lately, because we've just gone through 2.5 years of craziness with COVID and everything else and all the different stuff that's been going on in the world around us. What have you learned personally about yourself during these last couple of years? What have you learned about yourself and what have you learned about society and humanity overall?
I learned it's never a perfect situation. I learned a lot in the pandemic about myself and just, how I'm able to really touch and change lives. I wrote a book in the pandemic to really help nonprofit organizations. The reason I wrote the book is because I realized that there was such a lack of support federally as well as in our communities because of the pandemic. It changed me in a way to want to put more information out there. I can only reach so many people on a Zoom call. I can only be at so many places at once, where I realized that the way that you really can change is by educating and really allowing people to take away information that, they don't need to go to a university or have a degree to be able to impact change. Change comes from within, and the heart, the mind, those are the strongest things that can help change people, but also change systematic injustice. And I think that was really the issue of what we all face, not only in for-profit situations or non-profit institutions. I think when we have people like us who care, we make it our way. We make it a priority to be able to change the status quo. And by doing that, it's by really sharing kind of things that we go through personally or even through our professional careers, but then realize that I'm doing this not because there's amazing income potential. I'm doing this because, one, I really enjoy what I do. And then two, how can I just change one child's life, one parent's life? That's really what I learned about myself, is that it's all about being humble and really living with gratitude. And I think that pays its way for you along the journey.
I love that, Chris. Thank you so much for sharing that, man. I think about that in my journey, and I think about where it was in my life where I started developing more compassion for other people, because I grew up in an environment where my mom thought she was the head honcho. She definitely was the head honcho. She never taught me about loving other people. She didn't care about other people. It was her way or the highway. And so it was through my own particular journey about getting around the right people where I started having that giving heart towards other people. Talk to me about your journey. Did you grow up in that type of family environment where it was about looking out for other people, or is that something that you had to learn along the way yourself, like I did?
Well, I grew up, with a background from the Caribbean islands. My family's from Haiti. So, kudos to you. And I really appreciate the efforts that, Help Heal Humanity is doing for the people, for the children. It's really tough, the economy right now, what's going on, as you mentioned, with the gangs and kind of, the unstructured government system. But when you think about overall the household that I grew up in, my family always had strong values regarding sharing and caring, and I think that's really what I emulate today. I'm a family of 5 with 2 siblings. It's funny because I'm the tallest one but the youngest one, and the eldest is the shortest, so it's like a descending slope. But those are the values that were instilled in me early. And because of me always making sure to take care of my family, my siblings, my folks, that's the way I live my life today. And I think those are important traits that I've really built along my life. I'm 35 years old. I'm not married. I don't have any kids. But at the same time, I still make sure that I make my bed every morning. I kiss my mom when I see her. And I'm able to really just, be a leader in the community, not only just for my household, but, with people that I interact with every day. How I carry myself is important because I didn't learn that, as a professional. That those were things that were instilled in me at a very early age. So I do think, your upbringing, the people you surround yourself with really helps you kind of decide how you want to live your life. And I think those are the good traits, as they're instilled earlier, that help you apply those things, in the future.
It's so true, man. It's so true. I mean, the power of getting around the right people. When I think about my particular journey of being homeless from the age of 13 to 17, dropping out in the 7th grade, having all those different suicide attempts and ultimately having a gun put to my head, and then realizing that if I continue to hang around these people, I'm going to continue to have these same outcomes. And then I broke free from those people and then started hanging around different people, and then ultimately went back and got my GED and got my master's degree. Having those people in your life can create such a mindset shift that, you know, I went from being broke and not thinking I could earn, you know, more than $10 an hour, you know, working 3 jobs, to ultimately, you know, earning 6 figures in a corporate position and now doing my entrepreneurial business as a coach. But I had to get around the right people to change my mindset about my worth. Talk to us about that. I mean, I'm sure in your particular situation in wealth management and estate planning and everything else, you probably run up against some people that maybe don't have the right mindset about wealth and accumulation and feeling deserving. What are some things that people can do to shift that mindset about increasing their wealth and their value, both maybe personally and financially?
Well, you know, at a macro level, if we're looking at it from top down, it's the system. It's a system that doesn't teach us and educate us about tax planning. We don't have to be accountants, but we need to understand how many tax brackets that we have in order to understand if we make a certain amount of income, how we're going to be treated and how much is, you know, the IRS really taking off in their haircut. The other avenue is, you know, how do we actually manage our cash flow, our budgets? I love science. I love math. However, I knew I was not going to be in Nassau. So, studying calculus and statistics was great. However, it didn't apply for me with what I do today. I would prefer to learn earlier in my stages, in even junior high. You know, how do I look at, saving money, where to put it? How do I think about, investing money? How do I do that? Those are things where, I learned those things as an adult. And I learned those things, getting out of college, taking some courses. I really feel that, some of the things where self-education, makes you wealthy. The system just says, hey, go get a job. So It's like, really, when you think about it, it all starts, with our parents. It starts, with our teachers, our mentors, with the economy and how the world is changing so fast. We're not reading enough. We're not spending enough time educating ourselves, even if it's for fun. And I think really just exercising the mind really could put a lot of, youth at an advantage, because the more we read and educate our minds, we can ask more questions. Now our professors have to give us a response, whether it's right or wrong, whether it's for their paycheck or for the sake of them really enjoying what they do in regards to teaching. They got to give you an answer. And here's the thing. Nobody says you have to accept only one answer.
Yeah.
I think that's really the difference right there. We're making sure that if we have built, kids, the youth, into asking more questions, but making sure instead of giving the video game or the new iPhone, say, you know what, you got to earn that. And, maybe you got to read a chapter or two a week and then talk to me about it at the end of the week. So I think now we're starting to put some, systems in place that are teaching, the youth and adults, how to grow your mind, as opposed to just saying, let me just let some system or computer do everything for me. So taking those steps and going back to traditional steps, we're not saying it take away the TV, the allowance, and not letting people go out and have fun with their friends. But it really boils down to parents looking at how to teach the right principles at an early age, so your child's not suffering tomorrow, relying on you for money in college, relying on you after college, still living on the couch, or just taking the necessary steps, just making what they can and making ends meet. There's so many ways that kids today, listen, college isn't for everybody. And I believe that entrepreneurs are identifying more of that today. But entrepreneurs, they have the will to go after what they believe in, and that's passion. Yeah. But at the same time, passion can get you so far. It's so point where you have to have something that you understand that puts you at an advantage. So I say, to emulate, we really need to start teaching our kids how to start picking up more books.
So true. It's so true. And I think about that, and that's great advice. I think about my son. He's 5 years old, and I read somewhere, and I always quoted him improperly, but he was talking about somewhere it was talking about, like, when your kids get an allowance, they get 3 buckets. Like, part of it is money they get to spend, part of it's money they have to save, and part of it's money they get to donate. I think it was like 30, 30, and 30. I can't remember what it was, but what advice would you have for parents perhaps watching this with kids and trying to teach them those fundamental principles about saving and potentially investing? What are some strategies that you usually give parents as far as advice goes?
Yeah, with parents that are helping their children, also learn the right types of, principles is, when you make money, you got to pay yourself first.
Yeah.
And that means saving it or putting it somewhere where it's going to give you compound interest. And I think really that's what we need to start teaching everybody, that simple principle. Paying yourself last, necessarily doesn't mean, pay my bills, get stuff that I want, and then obviously then remember to save. And we did that the total opposite and said, well, once I have money, save first, let's just say 20%. You have the remaining 80% that you can pay bills. You can go have some fun, and you may still have some surplus available for you to actually use as your own allowance. But I think, using, those things that we're teaching our kids can actually help our parents too, to say, well, the way we can shift, our financials and our freedom to become financially free is by just mentally shifting a few things that we're doing in our day to day.
What are some of those things that we can shift?
Well, going back to just, the way that you think about money. Money is a currency, and it's used for many, different things. But when you think about it, the value of what that money buys, people buy food, people travel, people pay their bills. But when you think about, well, people need to also think about, well, how do I build it? How do I grow it? And I think the mental shift is, well, before you spend it, pay yourself first. And that means put something aside and then just let it grow in some type of investment account, or just let it, sit in a piggy bank for whatever the situation is. You want to start paying yourself first by saying, I've worked for this. All my money doesn't have to go all to bills. You make adjustments by realizing if I pay myself first, I got to think about that tomorrow. Because what if I don't have enough? Well, the savings account or the little pot of money that you pay yourself first always helps you in a pinch.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think about what you're talking about. And I think about traditional autopilot types of things that we used to do, investing in our 401k or, maybe stocks or bonds or different things like that. But now there's so many different things and opportunities out there. There's Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, NFTs. Talk to us a little bit about that if you have familiarity. Are those some things that we should be looking at as wise financial investments for the future, for our future of ourselves and the future of our kids?
Right. Well, everybody has a different game that they're playing. The game that I play is a little more traditional in that aspect, where there's a little bit more rules, there's a little bit more regulations. I wouldn't be able to give you an answer about, NFT, crypto, and Bitcoin, because that's not the game that I play. However, I'm aware that these are new games that are being played. And I think, obviously, if it helps somebody, get an advantage, get a head start, learn about it, understand it. If somebody is well versed in it and they're doing well, ask them some questions about it. And then, really educate yourself. People shouldn't take any decisions without knowing what they don't know.
Yeah.
And you never know what to ask if you never ask questions to start with. So it really kind of, goes back to making sure that if you don't know about something, don't just jump in head first. Make sure that you're surrounding yourself one or two different people that are doing it, but then have separate conversations with them, and then ask them the same questions, and then take away information from what their responses are, and then really collaborate questions and answers that you got from two separate parties, and then now figure out, well, what answer sounds better for me. And I think you can make an educated guess by at least getting opinions and at least processing those answers. Because again, I don't know too much about that world, but what I do know is that it's not a regulated world. It's not like, a world that has a lot of compliance. So when you think about that, that puts fear in investors. That puts fear in investors. They don't know what's happening outside of, a lot of stuff that's being talked about on TV. A lot of, people who are saying that they're doing really well overall with these strategies. But again, when you think about it, people who are diving in should be prepared for the risk. And the risk of, if you invest in something, you should be prepared also to lose it or to really have big wins. So really, it's a kind of a catch-22 where you want to make sure before you invest in anything, do your homework.
Yes, that's so true. I mean, you can't swing a dead cat anymore without getting a freaking DM every day about somebody who's invest in crypto and check out my Bitcoin and all this other stuff. It's like ridiculous. But yet, if you go on and you just Google, I actually Googled it yesterday and I was like, what is Bitcoin doing right now? Like, I don't pay attention to any of that stuff, but it was like, it's down like big time. And I've known some friends of mine that have been in that space and have lost, hundreds of thousands of dollars because they were gambling on that risk, like you were saying, but it is not regulated. And I think about, like traditional avenues and stuff like that. A buddy of mine told me, he goes, I swear to God, Chris, as long as I live, I'm going to tell you this, buy silver and gold, like actually have physical silver and gold. It's never going to change. It's never going to go away. What are your thoughts on some of those traditional old fashioned types of ways of investing to secure your money and to get that compound interest, like you were saying?
I think it's a hedge, just preparing for the what ifs. And I do believe that, old school approaches, like having hard palladium, gold, silver, they don't lose value. But here's the thing, it costs a lot more today to be able to buy a brick of gold or purchase, a mint silver coin. If you have the capacity, I say definitely, store some of that in your shelf or put some of that in the safe. But when you think about, how do I maximize on the dollars that I have right now? Well, you can use different strategy, whether it's stock market, whether it's, investing in real estate, whether it's looking at ways that you can, build cash flow, building other ways of you generating income in different capacities, using a lot of these already successful platforms. I'm also hearing Amazon gives you the ability to do, some types of drop shipping or different types of, strategies that where you can actually make a little bit of money with a model that's already proven.
Yeah.
Again, going back to educating yourself on how to do that, putting yourself in circles of influences that people understand how to teach you how to do those things before you jump in. There's a lot of games out there that you can play to make money. But the question is, do you have the time and the patience to learn it before you jump in?
That is so true. I want to shift gears a little bit. So we were talking about how to build wealth and build savings and stuff like that and some of the traditional values. So we've got a lot of successful people who are business entrepreneurs, successful C-suite executives that got money in the bank. And they're at this time in the world where it's kind of chaotic and everything. And you're not sure whether to believe, the financial, the stock market and everything else. They're looking at, I've got baby boomers that are good friends of mine. And they're like, okay, my time's getting kind of up there. I got to start figuring about my estate planning, my wealth planning. What are some critical factors that people should really be considering in today's world and today's society for that legacy planning for their families if they've got a lot of wealth and they're just unsure, like, do I put it in stocks and bonds? Do I put it in a 401k? What do I do with it? What are some critical things that people should really be thinking about in that planning process?
Yeah, sure. I think first, if it starts at the dinner table, it's not necessarily, hey, let's just go find and hire somebody who understands how to do all this stuff. I think generational wealth and planning really starts at the conversation at the dinner table with your family. Some families are more open than others, but I think and understand that you get a lot more responses when you start thinking about that collectively as a family. Start talking about, hey, college planning, or start talking about, well, what do we do with money if something were to happen? Where do we get it? How do we receive it? How do we maintain it? Those are some of the important questions you want to get responses from your parents, your siblings, and even the kids. You'll be surprised how smart kids are today, that they pay attention. Yeah. And they may have some ideas. Hey, you know what? If something were to happen, what do we do? The what ifs is really what we start talking about at the dinner table. Now, moving forward, once you have that conversation, you now want to bring a professional who understands how to explain and break it down. Because I think that's really the difference, where people feel as if, if I'm not wealthy and I don't have a lot of money in the bank, why do I need to talk to a financial professional? Well, here's the thing. It's the flip side of that. You should want to talk to a financial professional, make sure that they're at least giving you that guidance along your journey as you're growing your wealth. You never want to say, hey, we've arrived, now it's time to do it. Well, it might be too late. So you want to start talking about it as you're game planning. Life is about planning. You plan to, dress up and go to work. Well, you had to wake up and think about it and process that before you picked your clothes. So it's the same application when we're talking about, how do I preserve the money for the family? You're looking at the Rockefellers, the Carnegies. We're looking at some of these very, very strong families. I don't think they waited until they were billionaires to talk to planners or to talk to, financial professionals. I think they thought about those things amongst their families first. And that's really where we want to, challenge the status quo and have more of those conversations just in normal settings. When you're on vacation with your kids, it doesn't have to be the main point of focus in your conversation, but the more you start talking about it, the more you get the wheels turning. And I do believe that if you're protecting your wealth, you need a plan. You need to think about, well, I need documents. I need to talk to an estate planning attorney. I need some lawyer who knows how to draft a will. And then depending on the wealth you have, you may need a trust. Now, again, when you think about all those things, you need life insurance. Life insurance is a tool. A lot of people, don't fail to realize that it's not just having life insurance and saying, hey, somebody's going to receive a benefit and be a lot better off if I'm no longer here. It's more of, well, how do we look at this as a tool to protect our wealth? How do we look at this as a tool to be able to use this as maybe a savings tool, or look at it in a way to be able to, grow your business? When you're sitting with professionals who have the bandwidth to really explain and break these things down, you'll tend to understand how the rich stay rich, is they use similar tools like life insurance and understand by bringing in professionals who can break down strategies and understand their family situation. It puts you at an advantage.
I love that, Chris. Thank you for that. For those of you guys just joining us, we are on the Raw and Unscripted show. We're talking tonight with Kristoffer Doura, talking about wealth management, financial estate planning, and everything in between. So thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. As always, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask us live here or on the replay. Chris and I will definitely answer them. And you've got a professional right here, right now. So if you have any questions, feel free to let us know. Chris, when I think about, what you're talking about, the estate planning and everything else, actually, before I go to that question, I want to go, because you mentioned it, wills and living trusts. I've heard so many conflicting reports about that. For the most part, I have heard that a living trust is much better than a will, as far as, probate and all that other stuff. Can you talk to us a little bit about that and give us some basically beginner type tips on what to consider when we're even just at that very beginning stage of having a will or a living trust?
Yeah, sure. Well, first and foremost, those are two separate documents. A will just identifies who gets what when something happens, so your stuff doesn't get lost in the system. And basically what that means is you want to have that document first drafted and clearly describes your wants and wishes, because that's really what, at the end of the day, the judge that doesn't know you or your family is going to look at to make sure your family receives the things that you've built and preserved. Now, the trust, puts you in a position to protect what you have, because a lot of times there, certain rules in certain states will certain trusts, protect, your estate, depending on what you put in the trust. It could be businesses, it could be homes, it could be anything that you have that's titled under your name. If you have it inside of a trust, it puts you in a position to not think about, well, if somebody sues me, if there's people coming after me, well, certain rules in certain states protect the trust by law. And I'm not an attorney and I can't speak on things that attorneys do. However, I do understand that when you're thinking about documents, a simple will is where to start. And depending on what types of things you possess, maybe the trust might be the next conversation. But I would encourage all families, it doesn't matter if you own, your home, if you have cash at the bank, if you have anything titled that belongs to you, you need to have a will, because those are the things that you want to make sure that your kids receive or your spouse. And you don't want those things that you work so hard to have to just disappear because you didn't have a will. So I think that's really where it's important to make sure that those documents are the first thing you actually talk to your financial advisors and planners about.
I love that. So I've seen prepare your will, prepare your trust from like LegalZoom and stuff like that. Is that something that people can go through on themselves, or do you advise actually hiring a financial planner and hiring an attorney to make sure that it's all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted?
Well, you can do it the cheap way and, do it again. Or you can, shop around a little bit and figure out who is able to give you a price that is affordable. But I always advise, when you're taking serious steps to protecting your money, You want to sit down with a professional. You want to sit down with somebody who really educates you on your state, where you live in, and some of the things that you possess. Because at the end of the day, what really, stands is what's black and white on paper.
Yeah.
And, a lot of times you can go online and find the cheapest way to get it done, but it's kind of like looking at the Mickey Mouse contract versus the one that's the original one that stands. And I think those are the big differences where, when you're thinking about your legacy, you're building your wealth for your family, you want to take the proper steps and get counsel from professionals who can really advise you, as opposed to just winging it, doing it on your own, and not feeling comfortable about if something really happens, is this going to stand in court?
I love that. So speaking of that, I think about, all the different people that are out there, supposed experts and everything else. What should people consider and what should they look for in finding that expert, finding that individual? I know for me, mostly I go on word of mouth. Like I know we would talk about this last time when we were talking, like I know financial planners and everything else, but what if we don't know those people? What are some critical things that we should look for to make sure we trust them? Because we're opening up our entire wallet, our entire life to these people, giving them access to information that normally we wouldn't share with anybody. What are some critical components that we should look for to make sure we get the right individual?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's an interview process. First you got to like who you're talking to. And I think that's really the biggest step. We're building trust. If you feel comfortable with somebody and you're able to have an open conversation, get to know the financial professional, ask them about their story. What got them into the business? What are their values? Ask, who they represent. Some advisors are independent, find out their experience, look them up. And kind of start identifying, who are you really sitting in front of? Because there's a lot of, financial people out there, but they're not always in the best interests of people because they look at commissions, they look at, rates of return. So you really want to make sure when you're having those conversations and you're interviewing these types of professionals, you'll get one or two people that you can interview. And whoever makes you feel the most comfortable, confident about how they're sharing information, you'll know. And a lot of times we kind of go back to, the six senses that we possess. If your gut tells you feels right, it might be the direction you want to take.
So there are specific accreditations and things like that, because I think about that. I mean, one thing to follow your gut and everything else, but it's also when what you were talking about, what's in the best interest for them. Are they playing around with money? Should we ask them for referrals, some proven track records or things of that nature?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important to identify, what is the philosophy of that advisor? Are they licensed? Do they have the licenses to help you with investments, insurance planning? Or do they work with a broker dealer? Or are they independently a registered investment advisor? Do they have the fiduciary designations? You want to make sure that you're working with somebody who is capable, but also competent at what they're doing. And sometimes, knowledge is not only what's important. It's what's important is making sure you have that connection. Because again, like you said, you're opening up your world. You're not talking about these things, with your friends, but your personal life deep into kind of layers and layers of what you've worked so hard to have. Now you're just openly talking to it with a professional, and you want to make sure that that professional is the right fit for you. So you can do several things. Ask them for referrals, maybe talk to their managers, do some research on the actual company they represent, and, do a little bit of research before you decide to, jump into a contract or jump into some relationship with any professional. And that goes across the board from your financial advisors, from your attorneys, the lawyers, even your accountants, your CPAs. Those are the most trusted professionals in your network, because obviously those are the people that, one, you got to have somebody to help you with some guidance on the financial stuff. You can't run away from IRS because you need to make sure you're paying your taxes. And then you want to make sure that the attorney that you hire for counsel is also somebody that's competent, that can give you the best advice. And those are the three professions I would say you want to make sure you spend some time feeling the energy, asking those tough questions. And then, get some stories, get some feedback from some of their experiences as well. The more you can gather data-wise through a conversation, maybe meet them once or twice or even 3 times, but in different settings. Because sometimes you want to see how they respond to you at their office. You want to meet them for a cup of coffee. and then maybe invite them to your home on the third meeting to really see if this is somebody that you can actually trust long term. And I think that will give you enough of a rapport by having a few interviews, doing some of your research on their firm, and then even looking them up as well. Those are some of the tips that I would offer to our viewers today.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. These are questions that are going on in my mind. Like I've told you before off camera, I'm not a big financial guy. I've got my 401k and got other stuff. We got a financial advisor my wife works with. But I want to shift gears. I want to talk about the book. The book is coming out, right? So it's not out right now.
My friend.
Okay. So let's talk about this. 10 tips to help nonprofit organizations. I had it memorized, but now it just went right out my ass.
No worries. I got you, my friend. We're boys. So the boys are back in town.
The boys, yeah.
So the book is called Let's Get It. And the subtitle is called 10 Keys to a Sustainable 10 Keys to a Sustainable Life, Fulfilling Nonprofit Organizations. I got a little tongue twister there. But really the book is available for pre-order now. You can find it at Target, Barnes and Nobles, Books A Million. It's really at a lot of major retail distributors. The book's going to be available on the shelf in November 22nd.
Nice.
However, people can go online and Google Target, Barnes and Nobles, all the bookstores, and just type in "Let's Get It" by Kristoffer Doura. And you see how my name is spelled. Make sure you get that one right, because that'll be exactly the book that you want to, get for Christmas, or even get if you want to learn more about nonprofits. Now, I wrote the book because I felt like it was a resource. It's a story of my journey, but it's a three-pronged approach. It helps leadership, personal development. It really helps, team building. And then, the icing on the cake is it really helps to educate the organization on when they receive contributions from donors. What do you do with it? That's really the technical side of helping an organization understand how to think about legacy planning. How do we make sure that we have perpetuity in our conversation? And that's really where the book is not only relevant for the nation of the USA, but it's also a global book that can help many organizations around the world.
So what inspired you to write this? I love the fact that it's talking about leadership and personal development. It's right up my alley. But what inspired you to write this, and really in particular with a nonprofit space? Because I know I have a few friends of mine actually right now that are thinking about starting a nonprofit organization. I invited you to speak with Serena and Alex, the part that are on the board for Help Heal Humanity, and you did an amazing job. What is it? Some things people should really think about starting a nonprofit? Because in the dream world, sitting in our office at home and everything, it sounds great, but there's so many different facets to that. What are some tips that you would give somebody to really think about when they're starting a nonprofit?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the nonprofit industry is a $480 billion industry. Ooh. And when you think about those numbers, you're like, well, whoa. Why are there children still suffering? Why are there, women and children who don't have enough resources? Why are our fathers still having mental health, concerns? So when I realized by doing my research and being in the industry for over 7 years now, I realized that that's the problem. That's a systematic, injustice in the nonprofit system. The funding at times, gets allocated not in the right ways. There's certain organizations that are really successful, but, is it really important to have a CEO, making $500,000 every year? And, you don't have enough resources to, focus on more programs and really justify the metrics with how you're servicing, the community. So when you think about a lot of organizations that didn't have the capacity, they didn't have enough money in the bank, reserves, to be able to say, hey, if we don't get the grant from the federal side, how are we going to make it? Because you know what? A lot of organizations think, well, everything that comes in needs to go right back into the org. And that's the training that we need to take a step back and reflect. The nonprofit is no different than a for-profit. The only difference is the tax exemption that the IRS says, hey, you know what? We're not going to tax you on the money you bring in if you decide to use it or invest it. So really, you have an advantage as a nonprofit to look at a model very similar to like a regular business. Whatever comes in that's unrestricted, you want to put some dollars away for a rainy day, because you never know if your grant writer is going to be able to produce the same report and win that award year in, year out. So that's really where I realized the change and the impact that the whole entire industry faced globally. a lot of donors were, apprehensive to be able to still cut checks, to say, hey, I can still commit to the same level of my contribution. Why? Because they were impacted. Their businesses, their families, they didn't have the same cash flow that they had every year before the pandemic, as opposed to in the pandemic, they were impacted. So when you think about that, the nature of why I wrote my book was to solve the problem, was to be able to put organizations at an advantage to understand, when we are putting together our gala and we're raising X amount of dollars, when we are putting our programs together, how do we start thinking strategically? How do we start looking at ways that we're going to be able to receive these contributions, but now have a game plan to invest those contributions perpetuity? So that's really why I wrote the book. Now, to answer your question about friends and family members who want to start nonprofits, it's definitely going to be a pill to swallow if you have never, been in a nonprofit or in that type of atmosphere, because it's not an easy trail to walk. However, if you are encouraged by your values, your principles, the mission that touches your heart, and you want to get into nonprofit, I would say get some experience first. Join an organization, understand how they work, understand why they do what they're doing. And if you spend enough time with an organization, you'll now identify if it makes sense to go start it on your own, because it's not an easy cup to fill. Because as we can see now with some of the challenges, you have great people out there, but have no idea how to manage a nonprofit or people. So it's like, well, you want to make sure that surround yourself with people who have done it, and then ask the right questions with people that are doing it. And I think that's going to really help shorten the learning curve. So I encourage people, if you do have the interest to go out there and start an organization, do your research. Internet is accessible for everybody who has a cell phone.
Yeah.
And I think everybody has a cell phone these days. So it's like, well, read up on some stuff, get involved in your local community, and spend some time. Give yourself some time. Don't rush it. Anything that's worth anything takes time. And I think by educating yourself is really an advantage before you decide to go start a whole new org.
What you're saying, Chris, is so right up the alley. I had a friend of mine years ago, and he's like, I'm going to start a restaurant. And he was looking at financing, funding. He had a couple of people that were going to invest in him. He got his friend's parents that were going to invest in him. And I said, dude, have you ever worked in a restaurant? He's like, no. And I said, why do you want to do it? He goes, I've got these recipes in my family, and I just know it'll be bomb. It'd be so much fun. Serve alcohol, have a band. And I said, here's my thought. I said, go work in a restaurant for 6 months. Try to get to become like a store manager or something like that. See all the different ins and outs. See how the inventory works. See how the purchasing works. See how the customer complaints work. See how the insurance works. Somebody slips in your restaurant, you could lose everything. Go do that. And he's like, yeah, Chris, I don't know about that. I don't know. And then finally he took my advice. I said, what do you got to lose? And so he went to and applied at a local restaurant in his neighborhood. And he went in there, and I kid you not, within 3 months, he comes to me, he goes, dude, he goes, I didn't realize all the different shit that's involved in this. He goes, the customers were coming. There's a hair in my food. I'm going to call the Better Business Bureau, and and there's this and there's that, and your fork's this, and I got hurt in the bathroom. And he's like, oh my God. He goes, in the supply chain and the inventory and the quality of the goods and different things of what was going on. He was just like, fuck. He goes, I just wanted to serve food and just like, have this experience. He goes, but everything changed with this, going and doing that. I don't know if he ever did it. We were actually not friends anymore. But I was just like, for anybody who wants to go do something, that is the best way. Your advice is spot on, Chris. Go there and walk in their shoes. I know for me, working with Help Heal Humanity, just the certification process in all 52 states. When you go to accept donations, you got to apply and you got to sit there and submit all these different documents. It is mind blowing. They created a book that you have to go through every year that updates. Like the state of Illinois has this, the state of California is horrible. All these different states have all different compliance. That's what it was. All these different compliance issues. It's crazy. So thank you for sharing that. We're getting low on time. I knew this was going to fly by. I want to kind of dig into a little bit of the personal development part of the book. Who is this book for in that respect? Who's going to be inspired by your story? And what are some tips that you would have for people who are sitting there thinking right now that all the chaos is going on in the world? Their self-confidence is at an all-time low. They're just, worried about every single thing, and they're feeling like there's no opportunity for success at all. What are some pieces of advice you would give to people who are feeling like that right now?
Go get drunk and read all the information in that book. Drink the information up. And the reason I say that is because the book is for leaders who run this organization. Sometimes leaders need that advantage. They need to read some fresh content. I'm able to share a little bit about my story as a professional athlete with the NFL, and then also integrating that with real life scenarios where people can relate to those stories. It's also for people who just are interested in getting involved in nonprofits. I believe that it's important that you have an idea of how they work, some of the challenges that they face, and then identify that that's something that really excites you. Because a lot of times, you don't want to do something because it just puts, a check in your bank account. And obviously at the end of the day, what are you actually doing? What are you getting out of it in regards to satisfaction?
Yeah.
You want to do stuff that is meaningful. You want to put time and effort into places that are going to value you as a person. So the team aspect of building, your team, you were able to get a lot of nuggets on how to encourage the teammates that are around you, how to make sure that you are able to work in any type of setting that brings challenges. Now, I relate a lot of the information based off of when I was playing as a professional athlete in that team environment. Whether it was the locker room, the gridiron, when I had my hand in the dirt, you have to make sure that you are compatible with 10 other players. So when you think about that, it's all about working together. And I do believe that that's the key focus on that segment of the book. Now, the book is also for donors that want to be able to understand, well, what are these techniques, that I can get from this book? The book will be available, hard copy, a digital copy, but as well, I'm working on the audiobook copy for I know a lot of people who like to listen to stuff in their cars. Yeah. So it's definitely going to be accessible for many different, types of ways to receive the information. But I do encourage people to go get the book. Let's get it. It's going to be an amazing book, and there's going to be many more editions after, because I think I want to make sure that not only am I just putting one piece of content out, but I'm also continuing the legacy of how to understand the experiences, the feedback, and then the systems and processes that are built inside the book. Now, the book actually made Wall Street Journal best-selling author, because here's the thing. I wrote another book recently and collaborated with David Corbin and some other amazing, authors. And we put a book out together that's called WTF to OMG with a little LOL. And that's really sharing.
I love it. I saw that on your site.
That's really sharing a little bit of everybody who collaborated as a co-author in that book together, their actual experiences. Now, I had a near-death experience. My heart stopped and I died. And, by the grace of God, I got a second chance at life. Now, this happened to me while I was on the playing field, and that's the reason why I ejected myself out of the football business. But thankfully, I had a master's in business, and I knew that I was going to, have a fallback plan. So I became, a financial professional today. But if it wasn't for that injury, I still would be on the gridiron at 350 pounds, running 4.9 in the 40-yard dash and blocking everything coming around the edge. Now, nice. Now, here's the thing. It's important that people are able to transition and to be able to use those experiences to be able to do better. And that's exactly what the book describes. How do you identify the challenge, but not take away value from information that can help you and then apply it? So that's really the nature of the book. And I'm encouraging all people, whether it's leadership, it's, team building, and even donors, to pick up that book and get another copy for your friend.
Hell yeah. Get them for your whole entire team.
Right.
Well, Chris, this has been an awesome conversation. I knew this time was going to fly by. Where can people get a hold of you to continue the conversation with you, man?
Absolutely. Well, they can, check out my website, KristofferDoura.com. There's also ways to, get in touch with me, to connect with me, get on my calendar. My contact information will be available for us to connect. They can also reach me on the social media channels on LinkedIn, as well as Facebook. I think it's important that we all connect these days, and, reach out. It's so simple to connect with people across the world just through some of these social channels. So I encourage people, check out my website, go on Instagram and follow my handle, _the_legend. is where you can connect with me on IG. Kristoffer Finance is where you can connect with me as well on LinkedIn. So I think, there's so many ways that you can get in touch with people these days. It's just a click or one click away.
Yeah. And for people who are listening on the podcast, spell your name, spell your first and last name, so make sure people know what they're looking for.
Absolutely. And, keep, sharing and promoting Raw and Unscripted. I think this is an amazing show. I'm having so much fun. The time did fly by, man. I didn't realize we were even sitting here for over 50 minutes. But, I had a good time being on the show, and I look forward to, many more shows that you invite me to come on to and just share. It's really important that you do this stuff, man, because, at times people need this content. They need this energy. They need people like us to be able to share value. And kudos to you, man. I'm encouraging you to continue doing what you're doing. Keep offering mentorship and keep rising, because I think obviously you have an amazing story as well that you overcame. You went from homeless to going through a lot of different family situations, but you made it out, man. From suicide attempts, not having a family, you're making an amazing lifestyle for your son, for your kids and your spouse. Those are things that you want to praise. And I encourage that, man. So keep it up, man. I'm happy I got to know a person like you, and I look forward to many, many years ahead of friendship.
Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah. Thank you so much, Kristoffer. I'm going to send you backstage just for a second. Don't go anywhere. I just still want to talk to you after the show's over, but I appreciate you, man. I'm just going to close out the show for a second.
You got it.
Thanks, brother. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Another episode of the Raw and Unscripted show with Kristoffer Doura. Please go connect with him. I mean, not too many times I've had financial planners or wealth management people here on the show. So I chose Kristoffer because I trust him. I believe in him. He's an amazing soul. And anybody who goes out there and gives of his heart to charitable organizations like we did for the Power of We, that was all about the inner city kids of Chicago. He flew up there on his own dime and just participated and supported the organization, supported Lauren Michaels Harris and the rest of us there. So definitely go connect with him, because it's something that we may not want to consider thinking about. We think, I'm going to take care of it tomorrow. I'm going to take care of it tomorrow. But I personally know a lot of people, and I'm sure you guys too, who have, accumulated some wealth in their life, but didn't have a will, didn't have a living trust. And then what happens? All the people come out, all the family members come out, and then people go from loving each other and appreciating each other to, I want this, and I want this, and I deserve this. And I've seen people lose their entire family over the greed of what it is that the person left behind. So take care of your finances. Have those conversations like Chris said. It's so important. I mean, you have the conversation once, you sit down and you talk about it and say, here's what's going to happen. The expectations are understood. There's no misguided beliefs or anything else. And then it's done. And then you can continue on and enjoy your life and know that that's going to be settled, that whenever your time comes, that you're going to be knowing that the estate has been taken care of. But again, like he said, get around the right people, have the right quality people in there. Don't try to take the shortcut route. Invest in yourself to make sure that it's done right. Make sure that your financial planning is in good hands and that you have an opportunity for that compound interest that Chris talks about. And just continue to have that compound interest for your mindset. That I started the broadcast off letting you know that the workshop, the No Excuses Confidence Workshop, is coming. So go to noexcusescoach.com, check it out. It's right there on the landing page. Continue to invest in yourself, continue to watch broadcasts like this, educate yourself, but more importantly, take some of the information that you learned today and start using it. Within 72 hours of learning something, you have an opportunity that if you act on it, it's going to be more solidified in your brain. But if you sit there and think, oh yeah, I'm going to deal with that one day, chances are it's going to fly right out of your brain. You're going to go on to the next shiny object and you're going to forget about it. So I encourage you from this broadcast right now, wherever you're at, as long as you're not driving a car, write down 3 aspects of this conversation that you want to implement, and then start acting on that, and sit with your wife and sit with your spouse, your husband, whatever it might be, and start having these conversations, have them with your kids, and start planning your future now, because there's no guarantee for tomorrow. Whatever I can do to support you guys, I'll be there. Go to noexcusescoach.com. You can check everything out. Got a lot of exciting stuff coming up. I'm going to be part of another podcast here. I'm going to be able to tell you about here pretty soon. And I just ripped my No Excuses bracelet. How funny. I'm sitting there tweedling with this stuff. So, and you can go get your No Excuses bracelets. You can get your No Excuse and the other one right here, well, you can't see it because I'm a pirate, but yeah, this one says belief and no excuses, but I just actually ripped it. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is Raw and Unscripted. I love you guys. We'll see you back here next Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We got a great guest coming up. He is the Provoke Coach. So we'll be talking with him. I appreciate you guys. Love you. Share this thing out. Let me know what I can do to support you. Let me know what guests you would like to see here on the Raw and Unscripted show. Go out there, be brilliant, and be kick-ass unstoppable. We'll see you next time on